I've edited on basically every major editing software, and today I'm ranking each one, no sponsorship, no branding, just my honest thoughts. And a little disclaimer is that one of these actually almost made me quit editing completely. So make sure to stick until the end to find out which one, and maybe I'll change your mind on a few of these. But without further ado, let's move on straight away to the first one. So the first one we're going to be doing is the well-known and most beloved one, probably CapCut. And this one is probably the most famous one out of all of them, as it's free, easy to use, and just a good starting one. And it is very good for creating content fast, like if you're on traveling or on the go. And it's always got good templates that you can use, that you can quickly make an edit from. However, with this, there is also a few cons. The problems with this is that it's not very reliable, as it always crashes a lot, and it's got a certain amount of cache. However, it is also a paid one that doesn't actually have that many features when you think about it in that kind of way. It's also very limited to color grading and more long form style content. And when you're doing work for a client, it's not as professional, and it just drops the quality of your editing quite a lot. And I wouldn't say it's the best one for doing professional client work, but if you're doing short form and quick content, definitely check out CapCut. And it's definitely a good one for starting out with editing, as this is what I actually learned on as well. And I used CapCut probably for 2 or 3 years consistently learning, until they started removing all of the free features and turning them paid. And then that's when I then looked for a new software. So for this one, I'm going to put CapCut at B tier, just because it's got a lot of limitations. However, it's also very, very good for when you're starting out and just having a good platform to start learning on. The second one is actually Filmora, and I haven't really used this one that much. I've done a few projects when I was first starting out, and also at a editing camp thing that I'd done as well a little while ago. I didn't mind using it, but it had a few limitations as well. As with Filmora, it can look very, very templated if you're just doing too many effects and stuff like that on it. And it can just look a bit choppy and not as smoothly flowing. And also with the bigger projects, it can also lag quite a lot, which isn't as good for the workflow and getting out a project quickly. However, it's kind of the same as CapCut, as it's good for more beginner kind of content, and it's good for having transitions fast and a lot of like easy to use templates and stuff like that to start getting into content creation. And for its price, you get quite a lot with it as well. However, with Filmora, it can look a bit too preset-y and very the same. So I wouldn't rely too heavily on presets if you are planning to use Filmora, but always make sure to check out other options before you buy a subscription. For Filmora, I think I'm going to go for also a B tier. It's kind of the same level as CapCut, and it's not really as reliable as other more professional ones, obviously. But as I said, it's a brilliant starting program for learning content creation and editing. So always have a look and see what kind of options there are, even for different pricing of different stuff as well. However, now we're moving up the list a bit more, and this is the third one, and this is Adobe Premiere Pro. This is actually currently my main editing software that I use, and I love Adobe Premiere Pro so much. Although it is very expensive when you get the Adobe Creative Cloud purchase with it for the subscription, but it's 100% worth your money if you're going to make the money back. This one is great as it's industry standard and can just really put you up there with some top editors, as there's so many things you can do on Adobe. And the fact that it can also integrate into this editing platform with After Effects, Photoshop, there's so much that you can do within this as it all links together. That is also a benefit of having the Adobe Creative Cloud rather than just one of the platforms. And with Premiere Pro, a lot of the agencies and freelance kind of companies rely on you to be able to use this. Although the jump from Filmora and CapCut up to Premiere Pro is a lot, it's definitely beneficial of learning how to use these different editing softwares. And with learning Premiere, it just kind of sets you up nicely for different job types and even just different content creation styles as well. And knowing Premiere Pro is kind of like the base of starting out in content, so it's definitely a good way of getting into it. So for Adobe Premiere Pro, I think I'm going to have to admit, this is going to go in S tier. It's just such a good program all around with so many different styles and things you can do within the software, especially when you add plugins and presets. It just completely elevates your editing to other editors and just makes you look so much more professional. However, that actually leads us to our fourth and final program, which is DaVinci Resolve. However, with DaVinci, it's a bit different to the other softwares, as DaVinci is mainly known for its color grading, and judging that there's a free version of it as well, it is just amazing for its cost. However, one thing with DaVinci that I really struggled with personally was trying to learn all of the different functions within DaVinci, and it's not a quick process at all. As the thing is with DaVinci is there's so many different tabs to individually learn that it takes so long to get used to. As on here you can do VFX, sound design, color correction, different encoding kind of style stuff for when you're delivering, bass editing. There is so much that you can do. However, it depends on what kind of job role you're doing. If you're a VFX artist or a sound design or even a color grader, DaVinci I'd say is the best for what you're doing. However, for editors like me that are a bit more kind of all-round and enjoy doing a bit of everything, I highly recommend Premiere Pro. And that jump from the base editing software such as CapCut and Filmora up to these more professional industry standard like level editing softwares such as Premiere Pro or DaVinci, it is a huge jump. So just be prepared. It's going to take a lot of time and effort to get used to, but it will be worth it in the end. So for DaVinci Resolve, I'm going to put this at A tier, just as I found it a lot more complex and very, very advanced compared to Premiere Pro, but still quite limiting for what kind of style content I'd do. Obviously, this list will completely vary on what kind of content you do as well. But for me, this is my list. I'll have Premiere Pro at S tier for amazing, does everything I could want, including color correction and sound design as well. I'd have DaVinci at A tier because it's a very, very high quality and powerful editing software, but not kind of my style of editing. And then in B tier, I had CapCut and Filmora. Obviously, they're kind of the same and they're very similar with what they can do. So that is my final ranking for my tier list. And let me know what you think down below in the comments of this as well, as obviously everyone's is going to be different. But if I had to rank what I think of this, I'd say Premiere Pro would be the best one for all-round video editing, as it does so much, let's be honest. But with the editing software of Premiere Pro, it's a very, very good quality program. And I'd say it's the best one to get you started getting into the industry a bit more before niching into a certain kind of topic, which is what I'd do if I was using DaVinci. But for more casual projects, definitely look at CapCut. If you're starting out, this is the perfect way to learn. So if you did enjoy this video, make sure to like and subscribe down below. And if you're an Essex-based business, make sure to check out my website, which will be linked here or in the description. And just drop me an email if you're interested in any of my work. But thank you again for watching, and I hope to see you in the next video. But click one of the videos on screen here if you want to watch more of my content.